Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. Welcome to the County Council building. Today is March 10, and we have 6 public hearings this afternoon. The first is Agenda Item 9, a public hearing in action on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation 25-89 to the FY26 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, Department of Environmental Protection, Maryland State Highway Administration, 2024 Carbon Reduction Program, Maryland Energy Administration, 2025 Community EVSE Program for $4,011,055. The source of funds is a state grant. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. There are no registered speakers for this hearing. This public hearing is now closed. We will move on to the action portion of this item. Is there a motion to approve supplemental appropriation 25-89?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember John Lukey, second by Council Vice President Marilyn Balcom. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Approved by everybody who's here right now. Keeping it simple. Agenda item 10 is a public hearing. No, 11. She just walked in. Okay. Reflected on the record. There you go. Agenda item 10 is a public hearing in action on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation 26-19 to the FY26 operating budget, Department of Environmental Protection, Chesapeake Bay Trust, Urban Trees Grant Award for $719,750. Source of funds is a state grant. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. There are not registered speakers for this hearing. This public hearing is now closed. We will now move on to the action portion of this item. Is there a motion to approve supplemental appropriation 26-19?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Don Lukey, second by Councilmember Lori Sells. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Moving on. Agenda item 11 is a public hearing in action on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation 26-54 to the FY26 operating budget, Montgomery County Public Schools, Maryland Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant for $776,033. The source of funds is a state grant. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by the allotted time. I have one speaker, Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar, and I see that you have signed up for, let me see, 3 items. Right? Where? Yeah. 4. Let me see. 4 items. So that means, sir, that you get to have 5 minutes instead of 3. And you know the role. You know how I do these things. So I want to watch the clock. So you want to go? Okay.
Is
perfect.
this on?
Yeah, it is.
Usually I take my mom to her medical appointments, and I'm feeling so bad I couldn't do that.
Okay.
And I'm working on this instead, but we got some help helping out.
So we're going to start at 10. Can you please state your name on top?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
I have the whole thing here. Montgomery County, Maryland Government, MCMG Council and the Honorables, esteemed Council President, the kindest, most nicest, happy, fun, Miss Natalie, I'm your fan, Fanny Gonzalez. My name is James Dhruva Kumar, JD Kumar. I have been a resident of Montgomery County, Maryland for more than 4 decades, and here in my home nation, USA, for almost 5 decades. A dwelling because even after decades, you all don't integrate me properly, and also most of you, not the authority on this. This is a hostile environment. You all are hostile towards me. I'm an original British American colonies founder, investor, and founder emeritus also. Please teach proper factual history in your literacy classes also. Please, when implementing additional benefits on employee benefit plans, do the same. I am now on the Democrat ballot in June 2026 as your best, most competent candidate for United States Congress, House of Representatives for this Maryland District 8. Thank you. I must state again that this venue is used minimally and mostly only during work hours. So I have calculated the effective cost per this minimal use to be $5 to $25 million per year minimal use today. If you all want to know how I arrived at this amount, please schedule a meeting with me. You should already have my contacts, or please visit my contact section on my website, which is votejdk.com.
We cannot campaign here, you know that.
Sorry,
please.
you have my contacts. You don't need to go to my website. So that brings me to this resolution to approve Supplemental Appropriation 26-54 MCPS State Literacy Development Grant and 26-55 for MCPS Employee Benefit Plan. I'm in favor, and my initial question is, why so little, so much pequeño on this? This is an insult to hardworking MCPS peoples, this pequeño money. Please pay them properly. So much deficit for MCPS employee benefit plans and so little appropriation. Very upsetting for me. No wonder we have so much chaos, wide area disharmony all over the zone, this perimeter and beyond. So much disrespect for generational, centuries, and current decades merit. So much disrespect for non-majority minority individuals and groups like me. So much religious, ethnic, and jealous hate. Who is teaching all this? We shouldn't just teach literacy, but integrate history with literacy and other subject issues. Now, I pledge allegiance to the flag of British America, who are our founders and framers of our USA Constitution, colonial America. We need a British America Day, a colonial America Day, not just months for Hispanic months. We need a Mexico Day on a monthly basis. Mexico is a part of us, North America. There is the illicit Mexico and the advanced civilization. Love people, family unit is very important in Mexico. We shouldn't just teach literacy, but integrate history with literacy. I pledge allegiance to USA America everywhere. Now, my home nation, we're the oldest democracy, always striving to form a more perfect union. Now, this should not be a controversial comment at all, but I need to emphasize this to all of you here and beyond based on our current religious, ethnic, and jealous hate environment, which has affected me and my family, our family so much, our health, our finances, etc. I had to do more research based on what you all do here, and this is so related to all your funding for Montgomery County Public Schools and other programs. Finally, I'm in favor of anything that makes us a smarter, more harmonious, intelligent, kinder, and gentler society, nurturing, teaching, exposing our young to everything and anything the world is about. It is also important. However, please note, so important, I've stated this before, it does not matter how much you spend on education and other society programs if you do not teach decency, respect, etc. If you do not teach students and others not to be arrogant, callous, indifferent, rude, etc., all this literacy business is a waste. Now, I'm going to kind of stop here because I should get another 5 minutes for the other two subject matters, which are related to housing, because this is not housing.
Yeah, no, it's only 5 minutes for everybody who's going to be speaking on multiple items. You still have 25 seconds.
Well, what I would emphasize on the housing part is try to use algorithms for, first of all, I want to extend a capping rent for 5, 10, 20, 30 years like mortgages. I want people to have rent stabilization for as long as we do mortgages, 30 years. The second thing is the algorithms try to work out where with the landlord, you know what the cost expenses are, paying the maintenance person, paying for supplies, fixing HVAC, etc. We can move to have algorithms work to assess expenses so we can stabilize rent.
Thank you so much,
30
Mr.
years
Kumar.
rent stabilization, please. Not one, not two. Like LeBron would say, not one, not two, not 5, not 10.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. This public hearing is now closed. We will now move on to the action portion of this item. Is there a motion to approve supplemental appropriation 26-54?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember John Lukey, second by Council Vice President Marilyn Balcom. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. Agenda item 12 is a public hearing and action on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation 26-55 to the FY26 operating budget, Montgomery County Public Schools Employee Benefit Plan for $12 million. The source of funds is MCPS fund balance. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. All registered speakers for this item have already spoken at a previous item. This public hearing is now closed. We will now move on to the action portion of this item. Is there a motion to approve supplemental appropriation 26-55? Moved by Councilmember Wojo-Wando, second by Councilmember Katz. All those in favor, please raise your hand. The motion passes. Agenda item 13 is a public hearing on Bill 8-26, Landlord-Tenant Relations Prohibition Against Price Coordination and Rent Setting Algorithms. This bill will prohibit the use of algorithmic devices to establish rents on rental terms in the county, prohibit price coordination regarding rents or rental terms in the county, provide for the enforcement of the prohibitions, and generally amend the law regarding landlord-tenant relations. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session will be scheduled for a later date. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business on March 19, 2026. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to the issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you're testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. Please do not clap or boo or interject in any of the testimonies. I'm going to call the first panel. Mr. Scott Bruton, Mayor Monique Ashton, Brian Anliu, Pascal Lamire, Barry Jackson, Cheryl Gannon. So, Mr. Bruton, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and council members. My name is Scott Bruton. I am the Director of the Department of Housing and Community Affairs in Montgomery County. I am testifying on behalf of the County Executive in support of Bill 826 and Bill 926. First, Bill 826 seeks to address a recognized regulatory gap in the rental housing market in Montgomery County by amending Chapter 29 of the County Code regarding price coordination and the use of algorithmic devices in setting rents and other rental housing decisions. The growing use of software products and services such as RealPage's YieldStar is actively contributing to rising housing costs and affordability challenges in jurisdictions across the United States. As demonstrated over the past several years by investigative reporting and lawsuits in other jurisdictions, these software products use a combination of artificial intelligence, algorithms, and real-time competitor data to enable and encourage software-based anti-competitive practices among landlords. They produce egregiously large rent increases, eliminate tenants' ability to negotiate rents, and in some cases, create artificial scarcity in rental housing to drive rents even higher. These problems are significant enough that governments at all levels have begun taking action. Multiple jurisdictions, including New York, California, and the local jurisdictions of San Francisco, San Diego, Jersey City, Providence, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, and others, have already adopted legislation to prohibit these activities. There have also been multiple recent court cases brought against RealPage and large landlords who use it and similar tools, including by the U.S. Department of Justice, the District of Columbia, and the state of Maryland. Bill 826 would prohibit landlords from engaging in anti-competitive activities in setting rents or other rental housing terms, including price coordination and the use of algorithmic tools described above. Moving on to Bill 926. In 2020, the county pioneered a law requiring landlords to provide and maintain air conditioning systems in rental units from June 1st through September 30th, capable of maintaining indoor temperatures at or below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The original law arose from troubling accounts from renters, including seniors and those with respiratory problems, who experienced health problems when indoor spaces became dangerously hot. It is well known that climate trends continue to drive record-breaking heat, negatively affecting these vulnerable residents. Bill 926 amends the original law by requiring compliance with air conditioning cooling standards between May 15th and September 30th due to earlier higher temperatures. Further, it removes the exemption for detached single-family home rentals. It also requires landlords to provide timely notification of any disruption of essential services. Lastly, the bill includes a provision allowing landlords of newly covered single-family rentals to request a compliance waiver of up to 12 months, provided they demonstrate a documented undue hardship. When cooling systems are non-existent, fail, or repairs are delayed, tenants face conditions that violate basic habitability standards and create severe health risks. Bill 926 will ensure that air conditioning is available to all renters, including those living in single-family homes. Due to rising temperatures, air conditioning is no longer a luxury. It is a health requirement, and stronger air conditioning laws build resilience against heat waves. Cooling capability also reduces tenant displacement, minimizes medical expenses, and fosters healthier, more stable communities. Thank you for the ability to testify today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mayor Ashton, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, County Council President Natalie Fallon-Gonzalez and members of the Montgomery Council. I want to share that my testimony has been reviewed by our full council and supported. My name is Monique Ashton, Mayor of Rockville, and I thank you for this opportunity to support 826, which would prohibit landlords from using algorithmic devices or price coordination to set residential rents and other lease terms. We also thank the bill sponsors, Councilmember Jawando, Mink, and Evans for sponsoring this important legislation. The U.S. Department of Justice, together with Attorney Generals of North Carolina, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota, Oregon, Tennessee, and Washington, have filed civil antitrust lawsuits against companies for colluding to raise residential rent prices and decreasing competitions among landlords in apartment building pricing. Also monopolizing the market for commercial revenue management software that landlords use to price apartments. An estimated 8 multifamily properties in the city of Rockville were identified as being managed by companies named in a lawsuit. Together, this represents nearly 2,000 market rate apartments in Rockville, meaning there are nearly 2,000 families who may be paying rents higher than needed due to the sharing of non-public competitor data and algorithms that have an unfair impact on renters. Estimates from DC metro area approximate that landlords' use of these unfair approaches has cost the average renter an additional $112 a month. Due to the urgency of this issue, in Rockville, my colleagues and I are in the process of adopting language similar to Bill 826 in order to provide our renter population with protection against price collusion for residential rents and other lease terms. Montgomery County and Rockville's rental markets are inextricably linked. If landlords are able to push prices higher in the areas of Montgomery County surrounding Rockville, then landlords in Rockville, even without the use of algorithmic devices, could use these higher prices as regional market. We suggest that the county consider a few small tweaks, clarifying the definition of landlord in Bill 826, specifically to name whether a landlord is meant to be synonymous with property owner and property manager. Additionally, we wanted to suggest amending the language to state that the prohibition pertains to algorithmic pricing devices that use non-public competitor data. The bill references public databases, and since anyone can access public data, it might be difficult to apply that prohibition. The Rockville Mayor and Council take seriously the issue of affordability. We care deeply about our community and have developed 40 housing action items to increase housing supply and affordability in the city of Rockville. And nearly half of all Rockville residents are renters, a percentage that continues to grow. According to a January 2025 poll conducted by the Washington Post and the University of Maryland, 23% of Maryland voters cite affordable housing as the biggest problem. There are many actions needed to address this massive challenge, one of which should be including ensuring that rents are set fairly. To collude is unfair, abusive, and deceptive to tenants. For these reasons, we support Montgomery County Council's efforts to act against price collusion in the rental market. We look forward to collaborating with you on this important issue.
Thank you so much. Before I call on the next panel, Brian Aliu, is Mr. Pascal Myri here? I call on his name. Oh, it's the second one, because I have it here. Okay, good. Brian, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I'm used to testifying in Annapolis. Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. Brian Anliu with the Apartment and Office Building Association. We're in opposition to Council Bill 8-26. Montgomery County does not have a software problem. It has a supply problem. After all, the best consumer protection is consumer choice. Algorithmic devices are an important revenue management tool that allow housing providers to keep up with rising operating expenses and changing market conditions. This can and does include lowering rents when housing supply dictates it. In fact, some of the metro areas with the highest reported use of algorithmic devices have also seen some of the highest rent decreases. These decreases have been driven by increases in new housing supply. The proponents claim that algorithmic devices are responsible for driving up housing costs. However, here in Montgomery County, only about a third of housing providers use these algorithmic devices, and they only accept its recommendations about half the time. So the math simply doesn't add up. As for the allegations of collusion and price fixing, those have been addressed by the DOJ settlement, and no court has found any evidence to support those claims. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the Council to reject Council Bill 8-26. Turning to Council Bill 9-26, this bill isn't about safety, it's about comfort. It's 90 degrees today, and it's 80 degrees today. It feels like 90 in the cafeteria, certainly. And it feels like, and it'll feel like 80 tomorrow. But no one is recommending moving up the cooling date to March for the occasional warm day. That's because overnight lows in the 40s and 50s during March, and this also applies in May, when overnight temperatures are in the 50s and 60s. In my written testimony, you have AccuWeather data from last May. There were about 6 days above 80 degrees. 3 were earlier than May 15th. But most of the month had overnight lows below 70 degrees, with most nights below 60. I don't know about you all, but I find it more comfortable to sleep in like 70-degree temperatures than colder. And so what you're really going to create is a comfort issue at night when tenants are more likely to be home. Comfort is very individual and building specific, and the county should not create a county-wide standard when the weather data does not support it. Complaints about warm units should continue to be resolved on a building-by-building basis, and the council should reject moving the cooling date from June 1st to May 15th. Thank you.
Thank you. No clapping, please. Next, we have City Council Member Barry Jackson who's speaking as an individual. I understand. 3 minutes.
Thank you to Council President Natalie Fenny Gonzalez and members of the County Council. I'm Rockville City Council Member Barry Jackson, and I thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Bill 826. This has long been a concern of mine, as algorithmic pricing seems unfair, anti-competitive, and fits the very definition of collusion. I have testified twice before the Maryland House committees on similar legislation sponsored by Delegate Julie Polakovich-Carr in 2025 and 2026. The legislation before you now is a reminder that the algorithmic software has not gone away, and something should be done sooner rather than later. As the mayor said, 8 multifamily properties in the city of Rockville were identified as being managed by companies that are suspected of using the software. This represents nearly 2,000 market-rate apartments in Rockville, meaning there are nearly 2,000 families who may be paying higher rents than needed. Estimates for the DC metro area are that landlords' use of these unfair approaches has cost the average renter an additional $112 a month. That is $112 a month that could otherwise go to groceries, gas, car maintenance, child care, the list goes on and on. Right now, there's no prohibition on using these algorithms to set rental prices, and that very much needs to change. Setting prices by using non-public means through a software algorithm designed to squeeze every dollar from renters is just wrong and needs to be stopped in Rockville, Montgomery County, and the state of Maryland. Due to the urgency of this issue in Rockville, we are in the process of adopting language similar to Bill 826 in order to provide a renter population with protection against price collusion. I fully intend to support any legislation, whether municipal, county, or state, that helps end collusion and unfair practices among landlords. For these reasons, I support the Montgomery County Council's efforts to act against price collusion in the rental market. I look forward to collaborating with you on this important issue impacting our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cheryl Gannon?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Gannon. I'm the president of the Montgomery County Civic Federation. I'm testifying today in support of this bill. We thank Councilmember Jawando for his leadership and Council members Mink and Evans for co-sponsoring the bill. In 2023, the D.C. Attorney General filed a lawsuit against RealPage and 14 landlords for pooling non-public, competitively sensitive data from landlords to set rental prices and keep rents artificially high. Instead of competing, landlords all raised their prices together based on RealPage's recommendations. So instead of the market determining rents, it's the software. At least 10 of these large landlords that were sued in D.C. are operating in Montgomery County, likely exposing tens of thousands of renters here to the same price gouging. Similar lawsuits have been filed across the country, including a lawsuit filed in 2025 by Maryland Attorney General. Settlements have ranged from small private settlements to $142 million in one case. However, litigation is time-consuming, and renters may wait a long time in Maryland for relief through the courts. This bill forges a path through that morass and simply requires that from this point forward, landlords in this county must use lawful practices when setting rent prices. It's a reasonable, forward-looking effort that limits ongoing economic damage. It stops the bleeding, in other words. The county's rent stabilization law already provides a 23-year exemption from rent stabilization for new buildings, and then the price-fixing software eliminates market competition during that entire time and after. The result is a perfect storm of unfettered price inflation for a quarter of a century. Council members who argue that supply and demand will lower rent prices must acknowledge that price fixing eliminates the market competition that makes that dynamic work. I urge the council to enact this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I'm going to call on the next panel. We have Lee Henry, Isola Shaw, Councilmember Isola Shaw, Martin Michaels, Russell Brazil, Matt Lozak, Ben Winters, Sergine Yango, Grant Sams. And we're going to start with Lee Henry. Is that you? Okay. You have 3 minutes. Yeah, turn it on, please. There you go.
Thank you. My name is Lee Henry. Proposed Bill 826 is overbroad, both in its inclusion of public databases and its failure to narrowly define algorithmic devices. An algorithm is a set of rules or calculations used to process data, including formulas or averaging columns in Excel. Because public databases such as Apartments.com and Zillow are expressly included, this bill does not just prohibit collusion. It prohibits real estate professionals from using public information and spreadsheets to analyze lawfully published data. This raises serious First Amendment concerns. The Supreme Court has long held that the First Amendment protects not only the right to speak, but the right to receive information. In Stanley versus Georgia, the court ruled the Constitution protects the right to receive ideas and information. Even where distribution of certain materials may be regulated, the act of reading or possessing it is protected. In Virginia State Board of Pharmacy, the court struck down a law banning publication of drug prices, holding that consumers have a First Amendment interest in receiving price information. In Sorrell versus IMS Health, the court found that the creation and dissemination of information are speech. Bill 826 restricts a specific class of speakers, real estate professionals, from using analytic tools that rely on publicly available rental data. Others, tenant, county staff, remain free to analyze and publish the same data. To be clear, price-fixing agreements are illegal under existing antitrust laws. Collusion can and should be punished. But there is a constitutional difference between prohibiting an agreement to fix prices and prohibiting the analysis of publicly available information. In our legal tradition, it is generally permissible to read what you want. It is the unlawful agreement, not the act of reviewing public information, that the law properly targets. By including public databases within the scope of prohibited conduct, the bill risks sweeping far beyond collusion and into constitutionally protected territory. Moreover, by failing to narrowly define algorithm, the bill could sweep in ordinary analytic tools such as spreadsheets or basic financial models that real estate professionals use to interpret publicly available market data. This effectively empowers the government to punish routine commercial analysis and interferes with the lawful exchange and use of public information, raising serious concerns about due process and free flow of market data. I respectfully urge the Council to narrow the bill to target unlawful agreement and non-public data sharing and to remove the references to public databases to avoid serious First Amendment concerns.
Thank you. City Council Member Shaw.
Thank you, Council President and members of the Montgomery County Council for the opportunity to speak today in strong support of Bill 8-26. My name is Isola Shaw and I serve on the Rockville City Council. I want to especially thank Council Member Will Jawando, Kristen Mink, and Shebra Evans for sponsoring this bill, for and for your dedication to tenants and working families throughout our county. As a Rockville City Council member and a renter myself, I deeply understand the challenges tenants face. Last year, my building saw rent increases of 10 to 12% due to algorithmic pricing and a lack of a rent cap, both crucial protections. An entire floor was priced out. And a year before, I did raise the issue of algorithmic pricing. Nearly half of Rockville's residents rent, and over half of those are cost burden, spending 30% or more of their income on rent. Also, 46% of Rockville renters have only lived in their current homes for less than a year, underscoring alarming housing insecurity. While I strongly support the testimony shared by my fellow Rockville City colleagues, I want to recognize the champions of this bill and their parallel commitment to rent stabilization. This comprehensive approach sets a regional precedent and demonstrates a genuine dedication to tenant protections. This bill also works to confront the racial and economic disparities that fuel housing insecurity. In Montgomery County, Black residents are disproportionately represented in areas with high eviction rates. Across the nation, algorithmic pricing has exacerbated these inequities, resulting in increased tenant turnover and bad faith landlords utilizing software to coordinate price increases, even recommending vacancy to artificially inflate rents. Recognizing this interconnectedness, I am collaborating with my Rockville colleagues to advance a ban on algorithmic pricing while continuing to work with tenant leaders to promote rent stabilization within Rockville. Our shared vision is for both Montgomery County and Rockville to be communities where everyone can build a secure future and have confidence in their housing. Thank you again for your steadfast commitment to housing justice. I urge you to pass Bill 8-26 to continue to serve as a model for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Martin Michaels.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Thank you to Council Member Jawando and the co-sponsors for bringing forward this urgently needed legislation. My name is Martin Michaels. I'm a senior staff attorney for We Are CASA, the largest member-led immigrant rights organization in Maryland. We Are CASA is in favor of Bill 826, and we urge you to pass it either with amendments or with some slight suggestions to take forward today. This council took decisive action to protect renters in 2023 by passing rent stabilization, capping rent increases at numerous properties throughout the county. While this was a big step forward in the fight to curb skyrocketing rents, many properties remain exempt, and those that are held to the 3% plus API or 6% max should still be in genuine competition with one another to keep prices as low as possible for renters. As we've heard today from other speakers, algorithms stifle that very competition by aggregating massive troves of data and making price suggestions. It's not a restriction on free speech. The issue is the very suggestion that you should charge X for the rent. Landlords might use these suggestions knowingly or unknowingly to push rents and fees as high as possible. The algorithms are a tool that landlords may use to aggregate data to determine prices. Ultimately, we urge the prohibition of price coordination using these devices or any other method, assuming local legislation would not be preempted by state or federal law. Additionally, we would urge a more expansive definition of price coordination that not only prohibits collecting data from two or more landlords or public databases, but also two or more non-landlords. I'd also say I agree with the mayor that we should very clearly define who are landlords, owners, property managers, and other players in this space that might have really important data that could be shared and potentially manipulated. and we urge you to pass it and close these loopholes if possible. It's an urgent issue, as we've heard today, that by some estimates costs renters in the U.S. an average of $70 extra per month. Someone else quoted a statistic of over $100 per month. That's money that should be in renters' pockets now more than ever with inflation and prices going up. I thank you all for listening, for your time and your work on this very important issue. I want to briefly add that We Are CASA also supports the air conditioning 926 law that's being debated shortly after. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Russell Brazil.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell Brazil, and I am testifying on behalf of the Greater Capital Area Association of Realtors and our 12,000 Realtor members. Let me be clear. Our members oppose price fixing in all forms. However, this bill goes far beyond setting up an open market in our county to stop bad actors. On the heels of rent control going into effect, a move counter to supporting open markets, this is another attempt to hobble housing providers in their attempt to set fair rents and receive a fair return for the services they provide. If the sponsors of this legislation were aiming to strengthen price fixing protections, they could simply keep the bill to lines 48 through 52 and 56 through 62. That would ban raising rents and fees in coordination with others in the marketplace, and there would be no objection from GCAR whatsoever. But this legislation goes far beyond its stated goals. Its prohibitions and limitations on the use of market information will prevent housing providers from setting fair rental prices and prevent tenants from seeking fair rental prices. We are concerned that common information about property values on private networks like the MLS could be captured by the bill, as well as comparative market analysis reports provided by the MLS. This information can sometimes be used to set rents and fees. Based on the definitions of this bill, if a housing provider uses their access to the MLS or uses CMA data to set their rent, their actions could be viewed as a violation. Line 14 of the bill says that an algorithmic device recommends rents and/or fees, but this is completely subjective delineation between what does and does not constitute a violation. Market data has always been used to provide guidance to both property owners and tenants in determining fair market value. Prohibiting aggregating of important information makes it more likely, rather than less likely, that properties will not be fairly priced. Small housing providers were kept out of the rent control debate and regulatory process. Despite promises to take our amendments and regulatory requests into consideration, they were ignored. We ask that you stop pushing businesses and property owners out of Montgomery County. The overregulation that this council and the county executive have pushed for years impairs the ability to get a fair return on their investments in our community and provide housing to Montgomery County residents. We urge the council to reject the legislation as written. If the council plans to move forward on this legislation, it requires heavy amending to ensure that it does not further damage the housing stock and affordability environment in our community. Thank you for your time and attention this afternoon.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Matt Lozak.
Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez, council members. My name is Matt Losak. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Montgomery County Renters Alliance and leading co-founder of Renters United Maryland. In his lawsuit filed against RealPage and 6 of the largest landlords in Maryland, Attorney General Anthony Brown stated, "The multifamily residential lease market satisfies the hypothetical monopolist test that economists and federal antitrust enforcement agencies use to define antitrust markets." He goes on to explain the test asks whether a hypothetical monopolist or cartel in a posited market could profitably charge prices that are significantly higher than the prices that would prevail if the market were competitive. It's bad enough that too many renters are priced out of their homes by the irresponsible greed of some landlords, without having to contend with the weaponization of the rental market with price-fixing algorithms. Instead, let's protect all renters from price gouging and end price fixing. We certainly support this bill. We thank the co-sponsors, Councilmember Jawando, Councilmember Mink, and Councilmember Evans for their leadership on this, and the council in general for its support of renters' rights. I also want to throw in a word in support of the AC bill. The idea that AC and heat are somehow comfort and luxury at a time when we're seeing this kind of temperature swings is irresponsible. When we hear industry advocates make such claims, it reminds me of the tobacco industry saying that smoking is good for your health. So we need to look at the data. We need to be fair. I think that the legislation that has been passed by this council balances the genuine, reasonable interests of a landlord to maintain a profit margin and keep up with legitimate expenses, along with renters' need to have stable, affordable, quality housing. The Renters Alliance supports both bills, and we urge the council to pass them.
Thank you. Next, Ben Winters.
Council President Fanny Gonzalez, members of the council, thanks for having me today. My name is Ben Winters. I'm the director of AI and privacy at the Consumer Federation of America. We're a national nonprofit with over 200 nonprofit and government agency organizations that works to protect the consumer interest through research, advocacy, and education. And we recommend speedy passage of Bill 826, which would prohibit landlords from using a common algorithm to artificially inflate rent prices and create unfair rent terms. You've heard a lot today about the reasons why this bill should be passed, and I may go back to it, but I want to spend my time responding to some of the things that the folks in opposition of this bill have surfaced, especially those that are not correct. One thing you heard is that this is a First Amendment nightmare, and with that, you also heard that Zillow is expressly included in this bill. That is not in any way, shape, or form true. One thing, as long as we're looking at the line numbers on the bill, is that number 13 has a big word, it says and. So it is not just the fact that any two landlords, any collection of information like Zillow or like MLS or like a website with a PDF of people's rents would automatically make someone in violation of this law if they use that to determine what rents they are offering. What this is narrowly tailored to do is regulate the practice of taking non-public and public information from landlords, management companies from all over the place and using it to recommend rents. Another thing you heard is that they are not used here that much. If that's the case, then passing this bill shouldn't be the problem. If they're not going to use it anyway, then Montgomery County residents can be rest assured that they're not using it, and the landlords don't have to change anything they're doing. Another thing you heard is that the DOJ settlement sort of took care of this with RealPage. That's not true. It's one company, and the terms of the settlement only touch on non-public data and do not protect residents moving forward. It was just that one thing looking backwards. So those terms are not appropriate to actually protect people. You also heard that there was no findings of this behavior in court. That is misleading. That's because they settled. If you doubt the potential for harm in this practice, I would recommend you skim even lightly the DOJ antitrust complaint or Attorney General Brown's complaint or Attorney General Schwab's complaint. This is not conjecture. This is not anything wild. There are screenshots, there are records, there are clear things about the way that they recommend rents, about the way that they try to force and incentivize landlords to auto-accept those rents, and how people are ending up paying more for it. One thing I just want to give from a national lens is that there are over a dozen cities and counties that have passed this. It was passed statewide in California and New York. It was introduced in Congress as well as 13 other states, including right here in Maryland. But this bill is even better because it is clearer and does both public and non-public data. Again, thank you, and I urge you to support this bill.
Thank you. Next, Sergine Yango.
Good afternoon, Council President, Vice President, and member of the Council. My name is Sergine Yengo, and I serve as the member at large of Progressive Maryland's Enclave Tenant Association and as a member of the Housing Justice Montgomery Coalition. I am here today to express my strong support for Bill 826 to help protect tenants across Montgomery County. I have been a resident of Montgomery County for over 20 years, and during that time, I have seen many tenants struggle with rising rents and housing instability. Many families are doing everything right. They work hard, pay their rent on time, and contribute on their community. Yet, they still worry about whether they will be able to afford their home next year. What is especially concerning is learning that some lenders are using systems based on rent-setting algorithms that analyze market data and recommend rent increases. For tenants, it feels like the deck is stacked against us because Their system can push rents higher across multiple properties at the same time. Bill 826 is important because it helps prevent lenders from using technology to effectively coordinate rent increases across the market. It promotes fairness, transparency, and real competition in the rental housing market. We have also heard from seniors of fixed income who are deeply worried when they receive renewal notice with large rent increases. One senior resident shared that she carefully budgets each month for rent, medication, and grocery. When her rent increased significantly, she was left wondering how she would afford basic necessity while trying to remain in her home. We respectfully urge the Council to pass Bill 826 and take an important step toward ensuring that housing in Montgomery County remains fair and accessible for all residents. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, Grant Sands.
Yes, thank you, Council President and members of the Montgomery County Council, for the opportunity to testify today in strong support of Bill 8-26, which would ban algorithmic pricing in the rental housing market. My name is Grant Sams. I am a tenant. I'm the president of my building's tenant association, and I'm also the chair of Rockville Renters United, which is a grassroots community group for renter organization and self-advocacy. As a renter organization, the single largest issue that we see as we speak to folks door to door in our community is the cost of rent, and specifically how much rent will balloon at each lease renewal. And this is especially true for us in Rockville, since our mayor and majority of our council have chosen not to share in the county council's leadership on passing rent stabilization. In fact, according to the state's eviction database, while evictions for failure to pay fell 7% in Montgomery County last year, they actually rose 2% in Rockville. And for many families, there's the stress of having to move every single year to find an affordable place to live. And for many children, that means the stress of changing schools year over year over year. I had a mother in my building that said that her son had been in a different school 3 years in a row as she continually moved out from Bethesda. The rise of pricing algorithms are a major contributing factor to all of these stresses. And in the words of RealPage themselves, pricing algorithms ensure that landlords, quote, are driving every possible opportunity to increase price even in the most downward trending or unexpected conditions, end quote. I think that stands in pretty stark opposition to what some of the industry folks have said about how prices will go up or down as the market dictates. Because driving every possible opportunity to increase price by pooling non-competitive data is not how markets are supposed to work. That's not economics 101. That's price fixing. And that's damage done to the most vulnerable people in our community. And on that basis, I encourage the county to lead on this issue as you have on rent stabilization and pass Bill 8-26. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this panel. We're going to call on the next one. Mike Senko, Ali Ayaz, Lindsay Bui, and then the rest is virtual. We're going to start with Mr. Mike Senko. Is that you? Okay. You have 3 minutes, sir. You can start now. You turn it. Can you please turn it on? There you go. Yes, go ahead.
I work for a technology company. I can't work technology, so thank you. Thank you, President Fani Gonzalez, Vice President Balcom, and members of the council. I'm Mike Semko. I'm Senior Vice President at RealPage. You've heard about us so far during the hearing. A little bit about us. We have 70 products and services that service apartment owners and housing providers. A small bit of what we do is market analysis software. That would be things like algorithmic pricing. Our software does not set rents. We suggest a rent based on market analysis and looking at the property's own supply and demand dynamics. We suggest a price. It's been stated here, and it's true. most of the time, in fact, less than 50% of the time, do our customers actually accept our pricing. They use us as a way of understanding how their property is operating and whether or not they need to lower or raise a price based on the actual supply and demand dynamics at their property. If I could paint a picture of the country right now and draw a line from Arizona to Virginia, and we'll include Denver, we'll call it the Sun Belt. They'll be happy to know in Denver that they're in the Sun Belt. That's where we have the most market penetration for our software. And in all of those municipalities across the Sun Belt right now, rents are falling. They're either flat or falling. Many times they're falling by double digits. Places like Austin, Texas, Nashville, Miami, Florida, Charlotte, Atlanta. And the reason why, even though they use our software more in those places, that rents are falling is not because our software likes Southerners more than folks living in the Northeast. It's because they build an awful lot of product in the Sun Belt. For whatever reason, it must be easier to build housing, and the more supply that's added to the market, the quicker the rents fall or at least stabilize. There's been a number of things said at today's hearing that I'd like to clarify. First, there were a number of jurisdictions that were mentioned that passed bans on algorithmic pricing. All of those jurisdictions do not ban publicly available data as this bill would do. This bill is extremely broad in that it specifically mentions publicly available data as being prohibited in the use in software. And that is, no regulator has ever said to RealPage, you can't use publicly available data. None. And the one state that did ban publicly available data is New York. There is litigation in New York right now on that bill, and New York has voluntarily suspended that law that would ban publicly available data. All the other jurisdictions that were mentioned do not ban publicly available data. I could go on forever. I'm told I talk too much. I realize I'm out of time. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Ali Ijaz. Ijaz. Can you please turn it on? The mic left. Left. No, mic. There, sorry. You're right.
Is this working? All right, cool. All right. Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Ali Ijaz. I'm a resident of Montgomery County. I'm also a tenant organizer out in Gaithersburg. I'll just kind of keep it brief. I talk to tenants, renters out in this county every single day, and I just want to echo basically what some others have said already, in which, affordability is a real crisis right now for everybody. It goes across, housing, people worrying about if they're able to, get groceries, if they're able to, deal with medical costs or things like that. And every single day I talk to people who have to decide whether or not they can, stay in their home that they've lived in this city or in this county for decades, or if they're going to have to decide to leave the county or even the state because of increasing prices of rent. When you hear stories like that, it doesn't help when you hear about these algorithmic tools that would benefit only the pockets of landlords or property owners at the expense of the working class people of this county. I can go on and on about the stories that I've heard, but when these circumstances come up and when decisions need to be made about what's right, when do regulations need to come in, people look to this council to make those decisions to protect customers, to protect the ordinary folks of this county. And so just to reiterate what folks have already said today, I really, really urge you guys to support 82-26 and protect the working class people of this county against predatory practices that would really just make life a lot harder for folks than it is already. And I'll end my time there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Last call for Lindsay Bui. I don't think she's here. Okay, thank you so much for coming today. We're gonna go virtual now. Lee Ann Tobias, she on?
Yes, I am here.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm Leanne Tobias, and I am an officer of CCCHFH and the Springfield Civic Association, both organizations in Montgomery County that work on housing issues. But I'm testifying personally today as a retired real estate fund manager who made leasing decisions for millions of square feet of property across the United States. As a retired real estate executive, and hang on, I've got a bit of a technical issue. Hang on, could you stop the clock and just give me a moment here? Because I've lost my...
You can speak from the heart. I'm not going to stop the clock.
I understand that. But as a retired real estate executive and a county resident committed to housing affordability, I strongly support Bill 826 with adjustments to allow the use of public data and legitimate algorithms. This legislation ensures that the county's rental housing prices are not unfairly inflated by pricing coordination. There is only one reason to make leasing decisions on the basis of landlord-shared pricing data: to generate revenues in excess of what the free market will deliver. In the rental housing market, this increases rents and reduces concessions like free rent, free waivers, and free parking. Inevitably, tenants lose when landlords are allowed to share proprietary pricing data, especially when it is packaged with powerful leasing software. Such collusion also hurts smaller landlords because it is large institutional owners who are more likely to share pricing data and use algorithm-driven software for leasing decisions. I want to emphasize that I support the legitimate use of algorithms and publicly available data in real estate decision-making, including assessing data for property valuations, investments, equipment maintenance, energy management, and tracking lease renewals, expirations, and other leasing events. Software using legitimate algorithms and the use of publicly available data make real estate investment and operation more efficient. But when algorithm-driven software is combined with anti-competitive data sharing, tenants are cheated and markets corrupted. Montgomery County is rightfully committed to achieving housing affordability and market integrity by prohibiting pricing coordination by landlords in combination with powerful leasing software. Bill 826 helps to reach these goals. Thank you.
Thank you, and you even have time left. Next, Janet Frank. She on right? Miss Frank, can you hear me? I think she's muted. She's still muted. Give us 1 second, please.
Can you hear me?
Now we hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Janet Frank, and I represent the Montgomery County Women's Democratic Club, or WDC. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on a key legislative priority of WDC for the 2026 session. WDC is one of Maryland's largest and most active Democratic clubs with hundreds of politically engaged members, including many elected officials. We urge you to pass Bill 826 to protect and preserve affordable housing in Montgomery County. WDC is firmly committed to expanding affordable housing opportunities and ending practices that unfairly raise rents. About 40% of Montgomery County residents are renters, and many are already stretched to the breaking point. price fixing and collusion, often enabled by algorithmic pricing tools, inflate rents and push more households beyond affordability. Algorithmic rent-setting software significantly contributes to higher rents, particularly in tight markets like Montgomery County. The White House Council of Economic Advisors estimates that such tools increase rents by an average of at least $70 per month. This burden falls disproportionately on minority renters. Black and Latinx renters are more likely to be cost-burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on rent. Bill 8-26 directly addresses this crisis by prohibiting landlords from using algorithmic tools or colluding on pricing. Ending this artificial inflation will help preserve affordability for our most vulnerable residents. For these reasons, Bill 826 is essential to curb price manipulation, protect affordable housing, and promote equity in our rental markets. We respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frank. This public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to item 14 of the agenda. It's a public hearing on Bill 9-26, Rental Housing, Maintenance Standards and Essential Services, Air Conditioning. This bill will require detached, single-family homes offered for rent to meet certain air conditioning standards, alter the times of year in which air conditioning requirements apply, and generally amend the law regarding housing and building maintenance and landlord-tenant affairs. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session will be scheduled for a later date. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by close of business on March 19, 2026. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have two speakers. One is Dick Stoner, and then I'm going to call again Pascal Lemire. Please come forward. And Dick Stoner, is that person here? Oh, there he is. Okay. Mr. Stoner, you go first. Each of you have 3 minutes. That one.
Oh,
there you go. Thank you.
got the right one? Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council, for this opportunity to share my experience in dealing with lower-end housing and landlord-tenant leases on a day-to-day basis, which is what I do. My name is Dick Stoner. I'm a resident of Rockville. Since 2009, I've run Rice Corporation, a small, locally owned business, licensed brokerage, and property management. I deal mostly with historic homes and individually owned single-family properties. Picture, for instance, the caretaker's house over at the Rockville Cemetery. Nearby here, it was built in the 1880s. It was obviously built without air conditioning. It rents for $1,800 a month. It may, in fact, be the lowest priced single-family rental in the Rockville area. Other historic homes that we handle, like the Dawson House, it's another preserved historic property. It does have central air because ductwork was done in coordination with major renovations in the 1980s. The main purpose of my testimony is to ask you to please amend this bill to keep the single-family home exclusion from the air conditioning requirement. A bedroom in a single-family home that has windows and cross ventilation is very different than a 10-story apartment building. Let me see my time. I grew up in Montgomery County in an unair-conditioned house, and I'm sure at least half of you all did as well, maybe more. I remember window units. They were in my parents' bedroom and for their comfort. And those units can now be purchased for less than $200 and are common in homes like the cottage I just mentioned. And in fact, from my experience locally, many tenants will prefer to buy their own unit and take it with them from house to house. So I think we have a very different situation in single-family homes than we do in large rental projects and apartment buildings. So I respectfully submit the bill 926 presents a solution in single-family houses to a problem that does not readily exist. I can honestly say I remember the conversation. I remember a tenant saying, I don't care about air conditioning in this house. That's because there are many factors that are more important than just air conditioning. The location, your proximity to your family, your jobs, and your transportation are often much more important. And obviously, we all know that most buildings built since the 60s have central air. But my testimony is to bring attention to the inventory of older single-family homes, which I feel are often lumped in with apartment buildings, and the fact that many of those are owned by senior citizens and elderly people who depend on that income. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Pascal, can you please turn on your mic? There you go. Just that one, right there. There you go.
Hi. Hi, my name is Pascal Lemaire. I am the Vice President of the Enclave Tenant Association with Progressive Maryland, and I'm also representing and also a member of Housing Justice Montgomery. As a resident of the Enclave, this is a multi-building high-rise complex with over 1,000 units. I am delighted to support this bill. This bill requires single-family rental homes to meet certain air conditioning requirements and standards. It also alters the time when air conditioning requirements apply. This new bill would amend previous AC bill by requiring the provisions of air conditioning in rental properties from May 15th through September 30th. Currently, the requirement applies from June 1 through September 30th. When living in a rental community, I live in a 3-building high-rise with 1,119 units. It often gets very warm, and tenants often experience crazy heat spikes. And right now, due to global warming, it's happening earlier and earlier. This bill would ensure that landlords comply by enabling AC units to begin when people really need it. Last year, it got extremely hot in May. And, you know, when you live in an apartment building and a complex like that, you just simply have to grin and bear it. Despite reaching out to management to complain, they refused to budge. As far as the comments regarding warmer temperatures prior to May, sleeping in cool temperatures in the 50s, when you live in a rental apartment, you do not have that luxury. I will take sleeping in 50-degree weather in May anytime than sweltering, you know, in 90-degree weather when you're around other people. So tenants, for sure, we support this bill 926 because tenants deserve a choice. We deserve to have the option of setting our own temperatures and not relying on management to set them for us. In closing, I want to thank council members Kristen Mink, Will Jawando, who work tirelessly. They have a second full-time job at the Enclave, and they are always supporting tenants' rights. And, you know, in fairness, I think, you know, spaces like yours probably are the minority, but we have far more tenants in high-rise buildings being dictated to by landlords who many of us know are rogue. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. That is it. This public hearing is now closed. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.